What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with an unboxing video I received back from Collector Archive Services. 14 items. 14. And that whole narrative about their turnaround times being worse than AFA is not true. They have really cut down their turnaround times. Most of these items were sent in May and June of this year. Meanwhile, I'm still waiting for items from AFA from June. So they are definitely running ahead of AFA right now, and I wanted to show you some items. I'm going to start with some vintage collection, but most of these items are vintage Kenner items, and I have some absolutely insane items to show you today. Very rare stuff, very high grade stuff, but I'm going to show you first some vintage collection items that returned. I'm not going to take these out of the poly bag. I've already shown one of these on the channel before. This is the Target exclusive vintage collection droids, kind of animated style Boba Fett, and I did get a second one graded. And this one graded 90%. The card got an 85. The blister and figure scores were 95. And this one is going off to a new home. EP, this one is yours, and I will be sending this in the mail to you tomorrow. So thank you for buying this one. But a beautiful example. Overall 90 score for this fantastic droids Boba Fett. Probably my favorite vintage collection release in a very long time. Just an incredible item. I've already got one graded CAS 95. So this CAS 90 grade will be going off to a new home. And then I also have a few other recent releases. This is Bib Fortuna. Beautiful example. Timeless card back. Just a fantastic figure. The hand details on this one really capture the creepiness of Bib Fortuna, the major domo for Jabba the Hutt. But a beautiful example. And this one also graded 90. The card got a 90, blister 90, figure 95. Just an incredible score there. And thank you again to Gary W. for sending this to me. I actually picked this up from him at a toy convention, if memory serves, earlier this year. So thank you, Gary. And here's the other one that he gave me. This is Lobot. And just another really nice example. This one scored 90, 90, 95 for an overall 92.1. Fantastic Lobot there, and just looks fantastic inside that blister. So now let's dig into some incredible loose graded vintage collection, or excuse me, vintage Kenner items. First up, for the loose graded vintage Kenner items, I've got another Yoda to add to my licensed loose graded Yoda run, and here there are the ones that were already in my collection. This one is a no COO Yoda, brown snake, dark brown, dark black eyes, the Pac-Man eyes. Really nice example. This one, again, is a no COO, light green head, black eyes, 85 graded CAS. And then I have the Lily Letty, made in Mexico. This is the Regresso variant, not the Returno. The Returno is much more rare. This is graded UKG 85%. And then I also had this one that I picked up on eBay a long time ago. This one is a Hong Kong orange snake, light green head. Now notice the eye color on this one is kind of like a bright orange eyes there. And also notice that little light stick that is painted on the utility belt for Yoda. Because the next one I just got in is this one. This one is also an orange snake with a similar light green head. Let's see if we can get to focus. Sorry, guys. Light green head. But what's unique about this one is that the eye colors are a little bit different. They're a little bit darker, kind of a brownish color, and the utility belt is unpainted. So it's kind of a factory air, unpainted utility belt. And this one graded 80 from CAS. They didn't mark it on the label as I requested that it was an unpainted utility belt, but that's okay. That's fine, whatever. Light green, brown eyes, and that is definitely appropriately labeled. This one is the AFA example that has a slightly different eye color here. Let's see if we can get it to focus so you can compare the two. So just a slightly different eye color. This is kind of a more of an orange eyes on the AFA example, and also a slightly different head color. It's a little bit more greenish and less pale green than the other Hong Kong. So just another variation, probably a different factory is my guess, but just kind of a cool variation to add to my licensed Yoda run. And man, they look great together. And then I also have, let's see, I've got 4 bootlegs. I've got 3 Mexican bootlegs and then 1 Polish bootleg. But in terms of my license, loose graded Yoda run, that was just another nice addition. And I picked that one up from the Rebel Hideout on Facebook. Just he always has really nice items. I paid probably too much for this one, but it was just kind of a weird variation. It's hard to find these kind of figures that have unpainted parts and things like that, and I just thought that the head color and the eye color was different enough that I just thought it would be a nice kind of addition. The other interesting thing is the cane color. The cane is a much lighter brown versus the kind of darker brown for this example that's graded by AFA. So pretty cool to add one, and let's dig right into some other awesome variants. Next up, I've got another loose graded Han Solo to add to my very small run. I don't have much in the way of Han Solo, so I thought it was appropriate to pick up another one here. And the first one that was already in my collection is a UKG 85% Spanish PBP. And then I also have a 70+ grade Spanish POC. So I've got the early Spanish figure and then the later Spanish figure. And then I had already 2 Polish bootlegs. First is kind of the standard color Han Solo. That one is graded 60 by CAS, so pretty low grade. But this one is probably the best of the bunch here. This is a photo sample Polish bootleg graded 70 by CAS, and this one was used in the original Volume 1 Polish bootleg history book by Jacob Brzezinski. So I printed out a miniature copy of the page where this Han Solo appeared, and I bought that one from Jacob B. And let me pull down the new one. Here is the new one that I picked up. I picked this one up in the Deal or No Deal group on Facebook, and it's just a standard Hong Kong. Nothing very exciting about this one, but wanted to at least show this one. This one graded 85. So this is the large head Hong Kong 2-line GMFGI Han Solo, and it did grade a nice solid 85. I picked that one up, I believe, I'm going on memory, but I think I picked it up for about 50 bucks. And it did hit the 85. And a common defect with these Hong Kong large heads is that you can barely see it. Let's see if we can get it to focus. Right there on the neck, there is a little bit of a defect right there. And it's a very common problem. It's just related to the sonic welding process. But I see a number of examples of this large head Han Solo Hong Kong. It's usually the Hong Kong COO that has that defect. But otherwise, it is a pretty much perfect figure. The paint on it is pretty immaculate. And very happy with the score. I was expecting about an 85 on that one. So really nice to have that one as well. Next up, I've got one of my favorite characters from the vintage Star Wars run, and that is Bossk. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of Bossk. So I've got a pretty good collection of Bossk going. I've got an AFA 85, and this is the flat paint for the limbs along with the olive head. I've got a U90 grade Bossk olive head glossy paint, and I might have those backwards, so I can't remember. I've got the Spanish PBP fat lips, that's graded UKG 85%. Obviously I have the holy grail of my collection, that's the Toxic Limbs Bossk, graded AFA 60. That one is the photo book sample from Javier Ruy Lopez. And then this is a baggie. This is an AFA 85 plus baggie that is an ESB-D baggie. So very high grade baggie that I also picked up from Rogue 5 Toys, Chris W, I believe. And that's going to be a common refrain for a lot of the items I'm going to be showing you. But here is the other one I just picked up. This is another Bossk baggie, and this is the early mail-away baggie. And it's got a slightly different text here versus the blue text that is on this one right there, where it says Kenner, made in Hong Kong in blue text. This one is the made in Hong Kong with the white text. And just a really good example. What's unique about this one also is that this is the SWA baggie Bossk orange head. And so this is the first orange head Bossk I've got, and it graded CAS 80. And the reason for the lower score is the figure itself had some defects. You can see some discoloration going on the arms. There's some paint defects that, you know, probably just factory paint, wet paint before they were put in the baggie. But that's another common problem for some of these early Bosks is that the orange head Bosks that were in the early mail-aways that appeared on like 21 back Star Wars cards or ESB cards with a secret figure offer, they packed in those orange heads for those baggies, and they just, for whatever reason, the paint on those just tends to discolor over time. But really awesome to have yet another baggy Bossk to add to my pretty awesome run of loose graded Bossk figures. Next up, I've got a couple of loose graded R5D4s to add to my small run. Now, I have an AFA 85 1978 date stamp that is back at AFA because one of the pegs holding him in broke when I dropped it like an idiot. So that one's being recased. It's an AFA 85. But here are the other two that I have in my collection. This is a no COO 1977 date stamp. UKG 80%, and then this is the 1977 date stamp R5D4 graded 80 plus with AFA. So the next one I picked up is yet another 1977 date stamp Hong Kong. So I don't know why I picked up a second one, but I saw this for sale. I think it was 35 bucks. It was a really good deal. I knew it wouldn't hit an 85 because the sticker had a little bit of discoloration to it. And the back of the sticker was pretty good. It had one little tiny scuff right there, but mainly it was just the sticker had slightly yellowed. But otherwise, it was pretty flawless. The chrome on it is flawless. The paint on the legs, the orange paint on the legs and the head is pretty much perfect. So it received an 80 plus grade, which is I think is appropriately graded. And you can see right there on the label, it's 1977 Kenner Star Wars R5D4 Hong Kong, graded 80 plus. So very happy to have that, especially for the price I paid. Now, the next one is the heater. And I want to say thank you again to Drew T, and he sold me this at a very gentlemanly price, and I can't thank him enough. And it's one of those kind of holy grail items that I've always wanted to have. I didn't think I would ever be able to pick it up, but Drew very kindly sold to me, loose, ungraded, this Red Bar R5D4, and what an absolute beauty. As you can see right there, it's got the red bar filled in, and I'm sure that you guys, most of you, know what the difference is there. It's just that little tiny rectangle is filled in, and it's very, very tough to find these, and they're very, very pricey. It's kind of a desirable variant. But Drew sold me this, and I got it graded, and it came back with an 80 plus. So here's the grade on that one. 1978 date stamp on that one. R5D4 Red Bar, Hong Kong. So 80 plus grade. So I just can't thank him enough because, you know, that's one of those very desirable R5D4 variants. And once we get back that other one that's being recased, the 1978 AFA 85, then I'll have a nice little run going of loose graded R5D4s. One is another addition to my very small run of Lobot. It is small, but it is pretty incredible. I've got two vintage Star Wars first shot prototypes. The first one is a first shot prototype clear head, and that one is graded qualified 85% by AFA because it's just the head that is the prototype. The rest of the figure is just standard retail release. It's just displayed with the body just for presentation purposes, but the head itself is the prototype. And then this one, similar situation, it's graded qualified 85%, and this one, it's the torso that is a first shot prototype torso, while the head and the limbs are production, standard production. So that's why they received the qualified grade. So both of those are kind of first shot prototype pieces. And then I've just got a standard Hong Kong that's graded CAS 85. And then the other addition is another baggie. And this is a baggie for Lobot. And this one scored 80 plus. This is an ESB-D baggie, Lobot Hong Kong. So made in Hong Kong baggie. And I picked this one also up from Rebel Hideout. I picked this one and the Bossk and the unpainted utility belt Yoda from Rebel Hideout on Facebook. It's a great group, and you know he's not the cheapest. You got to usually pay a little bit more, but it's nice to get another baggie added to the collection. I think I've got now about somewhere between 15 and 20 different vintage sealed baggies that are all graded. And just another cool Lobot to add to the collection. Okay, one more loose graded figure. So I've always had a thing for Luke X-Wing Polish bootlegs. And so here's my Polish bootleg collection of Luke X-Wing. It's kind of ridiculous. I'm not going to go through all of them, but basically you got a first generation with the correct first generation Polish bootleg blaster. You've got 3 articulated third generation from about 1994. And then I've got 4 different colors for the static, unarticulated Polish bootleg. And these are from kind of the mid-1980s, maybe like 1985, 1986, somewhere in there. And what was the only other licensed figure that was loose graded in my Luke X-Wing collection was this Spanish Pac figure. And this is one I've had for a while now. It's only graded 70, but it's an early Spanish Pac figure with the Hong Kong COO. But I finally did pick up just a standard Hong Kong in high grade. And I got this one also from Rogue 5 Toys on Facebook. Chris W. had some overstock batch of Luke X-Wings. They were all literally untouched figures. And so he paired it up with a weapon and sold it to me, I think, for $35. But look how beautiful and crisp and clean that is. This is a notorious figure for having, you know, obviously rubs on the emblems, and all of the white paint from the vest, as well as, you know, around the legs, tends to discolor. The boots can often get damaged, but look how crisp and clean that is. It's almost perfect, right? Yet it still only got the 85. So that just shows you how difficult it is to get a high grade. You know, I was thinking this was going to give it an 85 plus or a 90, but CAS gave it the 85. And again, this was an untouched, overstock, never played with figure that was just as fresh can be, and it still only got the 85. So that again, it just shows you how difficult it is to get a very, very high grade Luke X-Wing, and why they go for so much money when they're 85 plus or 90 grade. But what an incredible run between my Spanish figure, the new standard Hong Kong figure that I just got back, and then my 8 Polish bootleg Luke X-Wings. Now we're going to finish off the video with some absolutely incredible mint on card figures that I picked up mainly from Rogue 5 Toys. Okay, so I've got 4 vintage Kenner mint on card figures that just arrived as part of this batch from CAS. And the first one is an absolute stunner. This is the 41 back A free survival kit offer, Leia in her Hoth outfit, and this is the red hair variant. So this is one that I believe I picked up from Chris W. And it's just one of those kind of amazing items that I'm so thankful for him for parting with it. But you can see it's got her red hair here, and there's a free survival kit offer. It is punched, and it does have that hideous Toys R Us price tag, but that's kind of part of the history, right? This was at $2.18 at Toys R Us, and you know, absolutely crystal clear blister, as good as it gets. The weapon is still taped to the inside of the blister. Here's the back of the card. I've got a pretty decent run going of 41 back A survival kit offers. I don't remember the exact number, but I know I have the Ugnaught in an AFA 85. I've got a Luke Bespin in an AFA 80, I believe, and a few others. Again, I'm just going on memory, but this one was graded, and it graded an 85 plus with CAS. So here are the sub scores, straight 85s for the sub scores, 85 plus, 41 back A, Princess Leia Organa. And wow, that is just an absolutely awesome score for a vintage Kenner item. So I just want to thank Chris again. And here is the other one I bought from him. This is the Dengar, and this is another clear blister Dengar. You can see it's got the same price sticker, same price. It was the same collector that bought both of these, and this is an unpunched example. So, you know, Dengar is kind of like a new focus for me. I've got 3 loose graded figures, but I finally did get back in this incredible 41 back A survival kit Dengar. I think that this one's probably graded a little high. This one has the very pale face, which is interesting because these are made in Hong Kong figures, made in Hong Kong. But, you know, it really almost looks like the very pale face Spanish PvP. It's not, because it has the lighter armor. But that face is way, way paler than the loose graded Hong Kong figure that I have. I should have pulled it down, but I did not. But look how crystal clear that blister is. Again, it's got the price sticker, but it's unpunched. And what a stunner. Now, it did have one ding up here, and I'm going to get back to that in a second when we talk about the score. But that was really the only major flaw. The rest of it was pretty incredible. And here is the label on it. It scored 85, 85, 80 for the sub-scores. Now, the weapon is still taped to the inside of the blister, so obviously they gave it a little bit lower score just because, I guess in their mind, there's something going on with the figure in terms of condition, whether it's degrading inside the blister, I don't know. But the weapon is still taped to the inside, so that usually gets you the 85 score. Now, in my opinion, that blister score is too high. I'm not complaining, because you win some and you lose some with the graders, right? And this is one where I think they probably, you know, maybe missed it, and it probably should have got an 80 sub score. I was expecting an 80 plus overall for this one, but it did get the overall 85, and I thought that was a pretty generous score. Again, I'm not complaining. The other complaint I have, CAS needs to do a better job of making sure the labels are appropriately actually sticking to the inside. You can see how that one's kind of curling up. I've heard other collectors complain about that. So CAS, use your thumb. Press the label down before you encapsulate it. It's not a big enough deal that I'm going to send it back in or anything, but, you know, it's just kind of one of those quality control issues that is easily solvable. Just take your time and make sure that the label is all the way pressed down. But again, you know, you win some and you lose some. So, you know, I'm kind of disappointed about that label, but they also probably gave me a more generous score than I would have given this. So I can't complain. So we got the 85 overall. This one got the 85 plus overall. And I was expecting an 85 and an 80 plus. I got the 85 plus and the 85. So they came in about a half a point higher than I would have given it. But I'm going to show you a couple of other items here where I think that they were probably too harsh. But this one is another Dengar. And this is one that is graded 80.2 for an overall 80. The subscores were 80, 85, 85. The blister was in good shape, but, you know, this one, it had some kind of wear to it. Where was it? There's a little bit of wear right here, sticker residue, and then on the back of the card, there was a very light crease. It was very, very faint. Now, this one I picked up at a toy convention. I picked this up, and it was for sale in like the hotel lobby, and I got it for $160. So to get the overall 80 on that one, I knew it was going to be on the borderline. Probably would get a 75 plus with AFA, but CAS barely gave it the 80. I'm not complaining. That one's probably, you know, appropriately graded. You know, it was right on the border, so I could see, you know, where it came in. But where I think that they undergraded an item was this one. This is one I picked up on Hakes. And another 41 back E. This one also is a 41 back E, although we're going to come back to that in a second. You can see the face here is kind of a lighter color than when we do the comparison to the other 41E. This one got an 80 overall. 80, 85, 80 were the subscores. And I think that this one was pretty harshly graded. I think that the main culprit was there was some wear around the hang tab up here with a very faint spider vein that was color breaking, and that brought the overall score down to an 80, but it was an 80.6, which seems really, really harsh to me. I was expecting an 80 plus on this one, but, you know, it is what it is. You know, you're not going to win them all, and this is one where I think that they probably graded it too harsh. Now, I want to point out now the factory code. So this is a K for the Cater factory. Now, the other 41 back E that I just showed you that I picked up in the hotel lobby is this one, and they look identical, right? But they're not. This one was made in the Smile factory, and you can see the S stamp right there. So I got two different factory codes for the 41 back E Dengar. I thought it was actually a different Dengar when I sent it in, but Collector Archive Services was correct, and I was incorrect. I think I said 41D or something like that for one of them, but they're both 41Es. But look how different the face paint is on them. Hopefully that's coming through okay, but you can see how that one's a lot brighter in color than this one, which is maybe a little bit more muted. It probably is not coming through that clearly on the camera, but I can promise you that there's a pretty major difference in the face paint for these two. And again, it comes down to the factory, right? So this is an example of a factory issue. Now, looking at these two right now, I can see why this one got the 80 figure score, even though the weapon was taped inside. Look at how much yellowed, look how yellowed the white portions are of Dengar's armor on this one versus this one, where it's very, very bright white. And again, I don't know if you can see that in the video or not, but this is a much brighter figure, both face paint as well as the white portions of the arm of the body versus the one I picked up in the lobby sale. So I think that now that I look at this, I think that Collector Archive Services graded this one correctly with a figure subscore of 80, and this one got the figure subscore of 85. So for whatever all that's worth, you know, it's just in my opinion, I think this one should have gotten the 80 plus because it was an 80, 85, 85, but only an overall 80. To me, that one was, or I'm sorry, I got it mixed up here. This one got the 80, 85, 80, and got the 80.6. This one got an 80.2. You know, whatever. At the end of the day, I'm really happy to have 3 different Dengars now. I went from 0 Dengar mint on cards to 3 after this batch arrived, and very, very happy with the scores overall. CAS did a great job encapsulating them. They all arrived perfectly in great shape, and they're moving fast right now, folks. They are moving a lot faster than AFA is. I've got several items that I sent into AFA in early June that have not arrived back, yet some of the items in this batch were sent in late June that have arrived. So it seems like CAS is really picking up the turnaround times, and according to some of the owners, they're saying that by next year, early next year, they're going to be running even faster than 5 months turnaround. So just a little information for those of you that care about that stuff, but just some incredible items that came back. I really want to thank everyone for watching, and I did put together a slideshow with some better angles, photos of the items, as well as the grading labels for those interested. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.